Welcome back to GeoVax's channel, a clinical stage biotechnology company developing novel therapies and vaccines for cancers and many of the world's most threatening infectious diseases. Joining to give some pretty pivotal updates, we've got David, the CEO, joining us as always. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, love having you back on here. So first and foremost, I kind of want to dive into that you were in Europe for 3 weeks, updating clinical trial sites and key metrics to the business. As you look to expand also into some other countries with some of these trials, you want to just give us some updates on exactly some of the data, what you were discussing while you were in Europe?
Sure, it was a very busy 3 weeks, 8 cities in 3 weeks. I won't go into the details. It was a good trip, successful trip, and certainly a tiring trip. But what we are anticipating coming out of that are expansion sites for our COVID-19 vaccine into the UK. So we're anticipating that that's going to come out of that. We had very productive discussions at BioEurope, the partnering conference that was held in Munich, and that related to both our COVID-19 vaccine as well as Gept, our advanced head and neck cancer therapy as an initial indication. We met with other partners and potential partners there, just a very full time, but it's going to lead to expanded clinical sites and also more than likely business collaborations and developments to be able to advance the whole registration development process of our assets.
Now, you also were presenting at the World Vaccine Conference, which showcased results from your COVID-19 vaccine along with more insights on kind of viral diseases. You want to tell us a little bit about this along with updates on that Project NextGen?
Yes, thank you. So last week was the World Vaccine Congress conference that was held in Santa Clara, California. We had the opportunity of presenting updates on two of our products. One is our next-gen COVID-19 vaccine, and Dr. Don Diamond out of the City of Hope, who led the development of that vaccine and is a consultant to GeoVax, he presented some very compelling and updated data that shows the critical importance of not only inducing antibodies in a vaccine against COVID-19, but more importantly, certainly for people with compromised immune systems, of addressing T cells or the cellular immunity. And this is from the active clinical trial where we're doing a direct randomized comparison against the mRNA vaccine. And it showed advantages relative to our construct or our vaccine versus the mRNA vaccine. So we're very excited about that. At the same conference, Dr. Jason Comer out of University of Texas Medical Branch, who's led the actual testing of our vaccines for Marburg as well as Ebola Sudan, presented results on those showing 80% protection against Marburg in our vaccine in non-human primates. Now, this is a very critically important area because fatality rates for hemorrhagic fever viruses can range from between 50 and 90%. In fact, for Marburg, for the Angola strain, it's a 90% fatality rate. You get infected with those types of viruses and essentially you're going to die. And these are at the top of the list for bioterrorism, as you might imagine. And so that's been the work that we've been doing, sponsored by the federal government, and we've advanced it to the last stage, which is really through non-human primates. And typically you'll do a human safety study after that, and then a challenge and a randomized challenge study in non-human primates for it to then become part of the Strategic National Stockpile. Now, going back to Project NextGen, as you recall, and hopefully the listeners recall, this represents a $5 billion funding investment by the White House that was announced in April, for which $3 billion remains to be awarded. And just recently, the Project NextGen team indicated they anticipate completing the award, so the remaining $3 billion before the end of this calendar year, which would be the end of this month. GeoVax has been actively and continues to be actively involved in discussions about the inclusion of our product, negotiations relative to that, and we have a certain degree of confidence. But again, you don't know till you finally receive a letter, a final letter. But we've had very promising and encouraging discussions in that regard, and we have everything going into a preparation for being able to participate in what would be the support of a pivotal, what's known as phase 2B trial, relative using our vaccine among the populations for Project NextGen. So we're excited about that. We look forward to keeping everyone updated, and hopefully, perhaps even yet this year, we'll be making a very exciting announcement.
And just to finish up, I mean, this is all incredibly intriguing to say the least, but you also have some more stuff coming down your pipeline, like Gedeptin, which is your head and neck cancer trials. You want to give a little bit of insight on that and anything else that we're missing here?
Yes, thank you. One of the most exciting, I think, opportunities we have for the medical community, for patients, and for our shareholders and any other stakeholders is really the Gedeptin technology, which is a broad-based technology that addresses solid tumors. And it essentially significantly reduces or destroys targeted, treated solid tumors. And we will more than likely complete the current phase 2 trial this month, so the end of this month, and then focus on completing our protocol for an expanded phase 2 trial, which we then anticipate meeting with the FDA and discussing the opportunity and the pathway for an expedited development pathway that may not require a phase 3 clinical study. And we'll be focused on that in the early part of 2024, but we do anticipate completing and closing down the current phase 2 program of Gedeptin with the initial indication among patients with advanced head and neck cancers. We expect to complete that by the end of this month.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I'll pass that question off to the viewers. We'd love to know what you think in that comment section below, and consider subscribing because as Catalyst news continue to come into play, of course, we're going to bring it to you here. But on that, we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you, Kyle.